Hi, today I'd like to talk about spoken English. Now, some of you may be moving into the study of English language, either in Year 11 or Year 12 for next year. So this is just an introduction to spoken English. Now, with spoken English, it is the method of communication that we use most often. It's the most frequently used communication. You do it all the time. You do it in different ways. You change your speech depending on who you're speaking to, where you're speaking, or what you'd like to achieve when you communicate. So it's a variety in its own right. Culture and shared values of society dictate the roles of each speaker. You have dominant speakers, that dominance might change. You have topic management, you have formal and informal, and there are rituals and patterns in spoken English regardless of whether that is formal or informal speech. Now, the benefits of written communication is that it's permanent. The benefits of spoken speech is that it is not. There used to be a judge in People's Court who said, say it, forget it, write it, regret it. Okay, so writing is permanent. Whatever you put down in writing can be retrieved, as I'm sure you've discovered from social media, and old posts that you would like perhaps to forget can come up and bite you at different points in your career. Now, there might be things that you just wrote when you were, 16, 17, you didn't think much of it at the time, but remember, always be aware that whatever you put in writing can be retrieved, and it can be retrieved much later, and it may come to haunt you if it was something silly or something you didn't think much of at the time. So what I'd like you to do is pause the video here and just write down as many reasons as you can of the benefits of written communication and the benefits of spoken communication, and then continue on. So first of all, the advantages of spoken language. It allows everyone to participate. Everyone can have an active role in a conversation. Also, you get an immediate response. If you go and talk to somebody, if it's a difficult conversation, you get the reaction straight away. If you write it down or you send a note, they may or may not respond, or they may respond many days later. So this is an advantage that it can be instantaneous. It can also be a disadvantage, and I'll let you pause here again if you would like, just to jot down some of the disadvantages. You may be over emotional, you may be angry, you may not mean what you're saying, etc. So the speech of each person is made distinct, though. So there's a distinctive way that we all speak, and that can be influenced by friends, family, culture, regional variation, etc. So there are characteristic sound qualities, which can be our accent, mannerisms and gestures that we use, and the fact that so many people are engaging, you'll probably have a variety of gestures, mannerisms, characteristics, accents, etc., and language use. And that's what you'd look for in a transcript, especially if you've got 2 or 3 interlocutors. So the purposes of spoken language. Well, the purpose mainly is to inform, to communicate. It can also be referential, so you might be giving a lecture, you might be giving a formal speech, you want to inform. It can be social, that's an informal conversation, emphatic. Transactional, you want to get someone to fix your computer, you have a transactional conversation. Expressive, revealing your state of mind, attitude, your emotions. So there are a number of reasons why we use speech. Now, I suppose that don't get this confused with social purpose, which is a technical term. Okay, when I'm speaking about purposes here and for this talk, really, I suppose I'm talking about function more so than social purpose. I'm not talking about social purpose here. So you have a lot of choices when you speak. So whatever our intention is, that will influence the way we speak, the way we interact, when we choose to be quiet, when we choose to raise our voice, when we choose to lower it, etc. So our intention will influence our prosodic choice, so the way it sounds, the volume, the tone, etc., and also our linguistic choice, whether we choose to use slang or taboo language or formal language. And again, if you'd like to pause here, you could probably jot down a whole range of examples for your notes. Now, how do we analyse spoken discourse? Well, the first key is you're going to read the context. Okay, so the context is important. Context matters whether you're analysing a written transcript or a spoken transcript. The context is going to influence the way you analyse. So look at the context first. Then, who are the participants? Do they have equal status? Is it a mother and a child, so there's a power relationship there, or a boss and an employee, or are they friends? What is the purpose of the exchange? Why are they speaking? Why are they having this conversation? Then look at how is this discourse being affected by the context that they're in. Whispering at the back of the class is very different than having an open conversation in the yard, in the schoolyard, or having a boss and an employee spoken discourse, perhaps about a promotion or perhaps a discipline or disciplinary matter. So think about these things. After you've answered those questions, then what you do is you begin to look at then the lexical features, the grammatical features, the prosodic choices made by the individuals in that situation that you're examining. So features of spoken language. So you reflect on the manner, so the manner of speaking, the speakers themselves, the topic or the topic changes that happen throughout that transcript, and the way the conversation is structured. Sometimes you'll get two people speaking and then someone else will come in and the whole conversation will change. So you can look at the dominance there and the topic changes. So first of all, the manner. It depends upon the status of the speakers. So if there's an inequality, such as a job interview, you'll find that the conversation, the language will tend to be more formal than informal. So if you look at the register, it'll be a formal register. If it's equal, it'll tend to be more informal, such as students chatting in a common room or people having a conversation on a train. So culture dictates what is and what is not acceptable in these settings. So think about some examples in each setting to illustrate these statements. So under each of these headings in your notes, put some examples there, real world examples, examples that you have experienced. They're always the best ones to recall in an exam or an assessment under test conditions. So speech encounters, although they may look spontaneous, they are still structured. So even though they're informal, they'll still follow a formula. People will pause at the end of a sentence, lower their voice to indicate they're finished speaking, and that'll be a cue that the other speaker then, it's time for them to speak. Sometimes in informal conversations, if there's excitement or anger, they'll be overlapping, but that won't continue for an extended period of time. So decisions will be made about when to speak. Also, the speakers will decide how to speak, what is acceptable and what is not. And these come naturally to us because as we grow up and we engage in a number of conversations, all of these decisions are almost made subconsciously. We just get a feel for how to participate in a conversation. But when you're analysing the transcript, you need to pick out these changes, these points in the transcript. So the relationship of the speakers must be commented upon. Their educational status, their social status, their economical status, the region, perhaps their regional influences, their ethnic influences, and so on. These are all the fixed features. Now, there are also non-fixed features that you also need to highlight and to comment upon. The topics during the conversation, as I said, they can change. You might have one topic for the entire conversation and it may be developed, or you may have several topics. You might have a dominant topic that then veers off course, but then a speaker draws the conversation back. So there'll be turn taking. The dominant speaker will change in the conversation. And also the purpose or the function of the conversation may also change depending on what's being raised, what's being said, who's participating in it. So the topic and goal of the discourse is related to the manner of the discourse and to the participants themselves. That's all I wanted to share with you today. Just a brief introduction to when you're starting to analyse spoken transcripts. This will be built upon. There are other videos that start to explore in more detail, more aspects of interpreting spoken speech and transcripts and also written transcripts. And if you like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Bye for now.